of them a day off in September. Bryce Harper, 36 of 37 times on the road, and this is amazing. He's been on base. The on-base percentage is just under .480. It leads all of baseball. Bryce, by the way, second overall home and road with an on-base percentage of .464. And here's the 22-year-old rookie. The Nats saw him last week for 4 innings, Matt Whistler.
Yeah, fastball's a two-seamer. He'll sink. It averaged 93 miles an hour last start against the Nats. That was on the 25th in D.C. He went 4 innings, gave up 6 runs, 4 of those earned, 9 hits in just 4 innings. Gave up a home run, didn't walk anybody, didn't strike out anybody. Slider changed to go with it. And after a while, here we go.
And that home run was by Ian Desmond, a 2-run shot. Denard Span went 1 for 3 against him. So we are ready. They're just waiting for the clock to say 9:20 to get this one started. Braves at home, 19-16. The Nats on the road, 21-20. And trying to win another series. It's a nice streak the ball club has going. They've won 9 of their last 10. Span hitting .371 on the road. Whistler with the first one. And it's a fastball right in there at 94. C.B. Buckner, 20-year veteran, has the plate. Dan Isanya, Lance Barrett, Gabe Morales around the bases. First pitch at 9:19. So a 2-hour and 9-minute rain delay.
Well, during that rain delay, I've been paying attention to a little game in Potomac between the Potomac Nationals and the Frederick Keys. Aaron Barrett started the first inning. Lucas Giolito came on, and there's something special going on down there right now. We'll keep you posted. It's going into the 9th.
Whoa. So probably not time to hop in your car and get down there. But we'll keep you posted. How's that?
Aaron Barrett threw a really good first inning, and Lucas Giolito's thrown 7 really good innings after, and that's where we'll leave it.
I think Max Scherzer knows what's going on.
I don't know.
That's
a tell him.
Breaking ball down and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Span. Max will go here tomorrow night. I mean, we were hearing that this weather was going to just be bad all night. Maybe this game wouldn't be played.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
And that could have pushed Max back to home against the Giants Friday night. But right now, here we go. See how long this goes. 2-2 to Span, and Denard flips it out of play to the left side. Inside some numbers early with STG. And guys who hit on the road, and one of them will be at Nationals Park Friday night. Marichka Aoki of the Giants. Brandon Phillips on that list with Goldschmidt and D. Gordon. You would expect D. Gordon to be on a lot of lists because of his hitting. Aoki hurt now, we understand.
I think he's on a DL.
All right, 2-2. Denard takes it low and inside. So he's the #1 guy, active players. And Span has an on-base actual streak of 20 games going. Yeah, Brzezinski pulled it back, but that ball was off the plate. 3-2. And the rookie walks him. So Denard Span has 22 walks, 23 strikeouts, and 21 RBIs. And there's a discussion going on between the umpire and the catcher right now.
Well, C.B. Buckner had a walk right toward Freddie Gonzalez after that. Then he stood in the left-handed batter's box, and he and Brzezinski were kind of going nose-to-nose here for a second. So the 6th pitch a little bit in, the 7th pitch way outside. Brzezinski pulling both of those pitches back into the zone. So after waiting around, C.B. Buckner gets it on the first hitter of the game.
You know what? And I'm thinking, he just sat around too like everybody else did for over 2 hours. Things a little testy here. Danny Espinosa next. Wearing out the Braves this year in 10 games, having scored 10 runs and doing a whole lot of other things. He was 1 for 2 against Whistler in that game last week. Goes up hacking and fouls it.
Thank Danny for sitting down with us 8 hours ago before the game.
Yeah,
he's great, man. It's good to catch up with him, talk to him. He's having a great year, playing everywhere. And if you saw the interview, still thinks of himself as an everyday second baseman or shortstop, and kind of had a good idea that was going to be the case.
And that stance that you asked him about, he says it's a comfort thing.
It's about both eyes on the pitcher. And a lot of times as a hitter, you kind of peek out of one eye, but with that open stance, he's just looking straight at Whistler, and he said it's a relaxation, comfort kind of thing. And we also talked about that thing, the pet on his face.
Span occupying Whistler's attention right now. And the 0-1, Espinosa fouls another.
And so the defense for the Braves tonight behind Whistler: Perez, Maben, Marquez the outfield, Simmons, Uribe left side, Peterson, Johnson right side, and AJ Przinsky behind the plate.
Gonzalez Ball Club 7 back of the Nats now. 5 under 500. In the division, they're 17-20. The Nats are 23-13. 3.5 games up on the Mets, who are having another low scoring, and in this case no scoring game. 0-0 8th inning tonight at home with the Cubs. Espinosa just gets enough of it.
Looked like he slipped a little bit in the middle of his swing. Trying to get a good toe hold. That clay might be sticky with the tarp sitting over the top of it, kind of hold the moisture in, but watch his back foot kind of slip.
Span, you talk about a jump.
He's going to run out of the stadium to left.
Run, Forrest, run.
He's going Bo Jackson right up the tunnel.
How about that?
I mean, this was an incredible jump by Denard Span. Watch this. 3 or 4 steps before Whistler even started, and Espinosa with 2 strikes couldn't take it. He had to protect.
Yeah, it was close enough to hack. So Denard close to 10 for 10. Espinosa continues to battle here on an 0-2 count. And the breaking ball low. Shelby Miller had to throw 28 pitches in the first inning last night, partly because Span and Espinosa got aboard leading off the game. And now Matt Whistler having to work long and hard so far.
I'm hearing Manny Rodriguez got a hit for the Frederick Keys.
Oh. First base hit, huh?
I've been saying pitch around Manny Rodriguez the whole game.
Yeah, you just don't give Manny Rodriguez anything good to hit tonight.
Lucas Giolito, Aaron Barrett with a combined 1-hitter. How about that, folks?
That is awesome.
That is great.
4-0. Potomac Nationals. Well done, boys. If he doesn't get that hit, you'd have to call both of them up. Espinosa on a nasty hook at 82 for the first out of the game.
Well, it says slider when you look at it, but that's more of a hard curveball. Had a little tilt to it at 82. Espinosa over the top, and you're right, pretty good pitch.
So Nissan tracking the first out of the game. That'll bring in Yunel Escobar, who had a base hit and an RBI against Whistler last week. That was on a first inning ground ball that got the Nats on top. They got 2 in the second, 3 in the third. Braves made 3 errors in that game and didn't give their young rookie a whole lot of help. Escobar starts the evening 5th in the National League with 87 hits. 4th in batting average at .326. And Bryce on deck. way inside. Dropped the bat and tried to get his hands out of there.
Do you remember last year with Adam LaRoche, it was the pitch away, the strike that was not a strike every single day? Yeah. Well, this year it's the fastball into Yunel Escobar that almost hits him in the hand. There's one a day. And the reason I think it's happened is because Escobar's a guy that likes to spray the ball the right side. Teams are trying to jam him so he can't inside out a ball the other way. But like I was saying, it's a big leagues, and guys are really missing in there to Escobar, where he's getting hit a lot. I know he dives, I know he stands on the plate, but still.
Target in there. A throw over.
And by dive, I mean trying to cover that outside, really leaning over the plate to hit the ball to right field.
A lot of room in the infield over there with Span being held. And a 1-1, the low and away. Whistler, 22 years of age, third big league start.
See that pat on his left hand and his batting glove.
Yep.
That's a doozy. Looks like a hockey glove.
He's got a good breaking ball going early. But the thing Whistler's doing here is showing the Nats everything in his repertoire.
Well,
first three hitters.
He's got a good slider going, and he's throwing it off the fastball inside. But he didn't have that slider last start on the 25th. Not like that.
And the fastball looking a little harder after the slider. 2 down. So Bryce Harper, part of our game notes. He hit 6 of his last 7 against the Braves. 26 hits against Atlanta. I'd boo him too.
That's weird, as they all paid money to come see him play tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably why most of them are here. Hey, Bryce Harper's in town. Let's go watch him play. And then they get here and boom.
That's doing a great job of scoring early. We'll see if Harper can make that happen here. Bryce had a double and a single in 5 trips last night. Next homer will be number 25. And that's upstairs.
But you see how A.J. Przinsky's pulling the ball down? We always talk about Jose Lobaton with a gentle turn of the glove. Przinsky's catching everything and pulling it in the strike zone. And as an umpire, you see that, and you're not buying what he's selling. That's why they're not getting the calls early in this game. C.B. Buckner knows he's doing it with every pitch. Lobaton does it with borderline pitches, and it's far more subtle. Przinsky just yanking the ball back in the zone. As an umpire, if you see a catcher pulling a ball that much, he's telling you it's not a strike. This is the one I'm talking about. Watch him pull it down. I mean, that's over his belt. Look at where he put. I mean, that's 8-9 inches. He's pulling that down. With Lobaton, it's a subtle turn of the glove. So umpires aren't buying what A.J. Przinsky's selling with that compared to how Jose Lobaton is more subtle.
3-0 to Harper. He sees one right down the middle. First inning. Why not?
You give him the green light?
I'm giving him the green light.
All right. I like it. He just looked up here for the sign, Carp.
Best left-handed hitter in the league right now.
He missed it. That's a fine.
Yeah. Come on, Bryce. When I tug at the tie, that's a 3-0 green light. That's how Connie Mack used to do it, with his straw hat and his tie on. 3-1 pitch with 2 outs. That's way outside. A couple of walks in the first inning, and Whistler's going to have a high pitch count. He has to deal with Wilson Ramos now. By the way, that was Bryce facing Whistler for the first time. Was not in the lineup for that game last week. Ramos was. He had a double in 2 trips. RBI single, first time up last night. Doubled the Nats' lead to 2-0. Then they went on from there with the Robinson home run. And C.B. Buckner takes a long look at that one, ball one.
But watch Przinsky's glove again.
Padres 7th rounder 4 years ago came over to the Braves in the Craig Kimbrell deal that involved a bunch of guys, including the Braves center fielder Cameron Maybin. And the count's 1 ball 2 strikes. Almost would like to make one of those outfielders run for a gapper here. Good speed at second and first with Span and Harper. Kelly Johnson plays way off the line at first. And a 1-2 breaking ball, unreachable. Whistler strikes out the side, walks 2, and throws nearly 30 pitches. Doug Fister goes to work. For the achiever in you. The Henry Aaron 715 clubhouse store out there. We're going to the bottom of the first at Turner Field with Doug Fister about to take on this Atlanta lineup, 6th in the league, batting .257, 9th in runs, fewest homers in the big leagues. Nick Markakis, though, doesn't seem to matter who's pitching. 9 career hits, a homer, a couple of walks against Doug Fister. By far their best hitter right now, and he's 4th in the league with 88 hits, and that will set up Fister's repertoire in a moment after a first pitch. Foul ball off the bat of Jace Peterson.
Well, velocity doesn't matter, so we're not even talking about that. Last start on the 25th against the Braves, 7 shutout innings, gave up 4 hits, struck out 4, walked 1. Longest outing of the season, his 3rd scoreless outing of 2015.
And a ball driven to left, some carry on it. You're going to have to hit one pretty well to get it out of Turner Field tonight after the rain. 1 out.
Opponents hitting .288 against Doug on the season. You see the ground ball percentage 41. It's been higher throughout his career, but you know he's feeling better. The ball's been down last couple of starts, and he's getting stronger as it goes, as you would think.
Next up is Cameron Maybin. Maybin had a couple of hits in that game last week. Doug went 7. He had a double against him in 3 trips. And he's 3 for 9 career against the Nats right-hander, who delivers one inside at 85, 2-0.
Well, that's a good night to hit. It's a small strike zone both ways.
Holds on too long, 3-1. Pfister career 63 and 59. It's his 162nd start tonight, and his 12th against the Braves. Misses upstairs, 1 out walk. 3 walks already by the starting pitchers.
Now here's your defense tonight. Taylor Span Harper, the outfield. Desmond Escobar, left side. Espinoza Robinson, right side. Wilson Ramos behind the plate. Danny Espinoza at second base tonight.
Woodstock, Georgia native Nick Markakis. 5 for 11 over a 3-game hitting streak. That's a strike low in the zone. Nats held him in check until his final 2 at-bats last night. He just flipped a couple of singles to left field. 88 hits in 77 team games, 76 games for Markakis. He's been a pretty good Iron Man for them. And only D. Gordon has more multi-hit games with 30 to Nick's 27.
I remember on June 25th in the first inning in D.C. snapped a streak of 398 games in the outfield without an error. Denard Span hit the ball to him, kind of took a bad hop to his backhand side, and one of the most impressive defensive streaks in MLB history came to an end.
It is.
You're thinking, well, he's an outfielder, FP, come on. Well, you know, outfielders can make perfect throws, hit a runner in the back, and it's an error. They can make a one-hop throw to home, and the catcher can miss it. It gets by the catcher, and the runner advances. It's an error. So that's impressive.
It is. That is severe damage. 2 outs.
I mean, you said that like head for the cellar. There's a tornado coming. Severe damage.
It's been a while.
Yeah, look at the cutter from Pfister, just very subtle at the end. Markakis thinking, oh, that's my cookie right there, and gets in on him and pops it up. Ball not carrying the center.
That did not have a good sound. Did for Pfister. Here's A.J. Pierzynski, who's 5 for 27 career against Doug with a couple of home runs. Runs that fastball back to the inside edge. So 3 RBIs to go with those 2 long balls. Goes the other way. Taylor right there. Similar to the drive by Peterson. So Doug Pfister puts up a 0. Clint Robinson hitting .306. 10 RBIs in 19 games, leads off. Minor league report. We will let you absorb this. And this is what happened in Potomac tonight. Following Aaron Barrett, Lucas Giolito took a team no-hitter into the 9th inning, gave up 1 hit. Manny Rodriguez gave up the hit. Trey Turner hit his first homer at AAA, and Aaron, a couple of strikeouts, a walk in his rehab assignment tonight. So lots of excitement down at the Fitz tonight.
Yeah, Trey Turner checking in with his first tater. And I guess the only question is after Aaron Barrett threw the first inning, did he stick around for the whole game, or did he big league everybody, get in his car and go home? Knowing Aaron Barrett, he stuck around. I'll stick with that on the air.
Okay. Here's Clint hitting .271. To his right, Kelly Johnson shovels underhand to the pitcher. More numbers. STG getting us set up here early tonight. The Nats have won 3 straight in this ballpark, 9 in a row over the Braves overall. The homers, no contest. Run per game, almost 2-1. Runners in scoring position, great number by the Nats. And the team ERA under 3. Freddie Gonzalez Ball Club, 6 under, 500, and 8 under against their rivals from D.C. Ian Desmond hit a 2-run homer against Whistler last week. That was that bomb over the scoreboard in the 3rd inning to right center field in that ball game. Then Ian went very deep in Philadelphia, so a couple of home runs last week. Got a fastball up a bit, couldn't get over the top of it. That's a breaking ball that's going to overmatch some free swingers tonight. Strikeout number 4.
The slider's been pretty good for Whistler so far, and Ian Desmond with 2 strikes, taking a mighty hack once again. Not really taking anything out of his swing with 2 strikes. Still determined to drive the ball. And against that slider the Whistler's got going tonight. We didn't see that last time.
Michael A. Taylor had an RBI against Whistler last week with a base hit. Everything's got some movement tonight. Good numbers against the Braves. So Michael 300 over his last 3 weeks. Like 2 inches up on that knob. And a bouncing ball to the right side for Jace Peterson. Taylor working hard, gets down the line. Inning over. No hits in this game yet.
Of work. How locked in does Fister get when he's on the mound? Well, there are times that he doesn't know what inning he's in when he's stepping on the rubber. And he told me yesterday that there are even times when a hitter steps into the batter's box and he isn't even aware of what hitter it is. To Fister, it doesn't matter. He feels that if he executes his pitch based on the specific count, the situation, he'll be successful the vast majority of the time. He doesn't want his head to be too clouded by too much information that locks him into a game plan that can't be adjusted on the fly. He'll listen to scouting reports, but he doesn't put a lot of stock into them. He wants to simplify things, wants to pitch to his strengths and keep the same mindset regardless of what inning it is, and sometimes regardless of what hitter it is.
Well, if we can help Doug out here, it's the bottom of the second, and Juan Uribe is about to lead off.
Well, I know exactly how he feels every night as a broadcaster.
Well, the play-by-play guy keeps track of the innings. You just tell us what you see. When you're talking Cards, you're talking Coons, and that's Dan with our Coons.com sideline report.
I had a fascinating talk with Doug Fister in Atlanta last year about just that. He gets so locked in, and he pitches to his strengths. And what a better place to talk about that than Atlanta, where Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, and Tom Glavine used to do the very same thing. As a pitcher, I feel like you should pitch to your strengths, because if the hitter's weakness is your weakness, then you're actually helping him out. So Doug Fister, yeah, he listens to scouting reports, but he's reading swings. He's going to throw his game how he wants to, and he's so focused, he doesn't even care what inning it is. I think Dan was telling me that Fister told him he was in a start in Seattle, and he thought he was in the 6th inning, and he was really in the 8th inning. That's how locked in he gets out there. Doesn't even know what inning he's in. And that's a good thing, too. I mean, we're not making light of it. That's how focused he is.
Big curveball, 72. Gravity had to take over. Strikeout number 1, Mercedes-Benz tracks.
Yeah, great curveball. Watch this. Above the belt, all the way down to the shins. Out front, on top. Uribe's seeing it up. He goes to swing, and it's even out of the strike zone. Nice pitch.
Kelly Johnson next. So different strokes for different pitchers, huh? The exact opposite of Max Scherzer, who knows everything down to the most minute detail when he's out there.
Well, I think Doug Fister knows everything to the most minute detail, but it's his detail versus the hitters, and I think that's very important. I like that strategy as a pitcher far more than pitching to a scouting report, especially if you're a veteran guy and you've been around the block.
Kelly Johnson didn't like that call. 1 ball, 2 strikes as Fister pounds him inside. Then he goes up and away, and Johnson able to hold that bat back. He's 4 for 12 career against Doug with a home run. They've met in the American League before. Threw him a strike and a fly ball out to center. Denard Span tracking it. So 2 in a row to start off the second, and 4 straight since the walk to Cameron Maben. Andrelton Simmons coming in, and most wins since the beginning of last year for the Nats, and Fister right behind Zimmerman with Steven Strasburg. STG. Strike 1. Kind of interesting with a little help here and there. Max Scherzer would barely be off that list this year the way he's thrown. He's had, Scherzer has 14 decisions already. How about that out of 15 starts?
Well, if he starts for the National League in the All-Star game and Chris Sale starts for the American League, it could be 2 of the nastiest guys ever to start an All-Star game.
And Doug Fister looking pretty good himself. 5 in a row, 2 strikeouts in the inning, and he will lead off top 3 scoreless.
Hey,
I thought this team had a massage therapist.
you steal me strikes with your framing ability, I'll give you a massage all day long. This team's close. Dan Hugla getting a little jealous right next to Jose Lobaton. Dollar Ice Cream presented by Good Humor, which we know nothing about, returns on Monday, July 6th as the Nats take on the Reds. 7:05 start. Dollar Ice Cream novelties will be available for purchase at select Nat dog stands until the start of the 6th inning. So get a hot dog and some ice cream. That sounds awesome. Not a gut bomb at all. Get your tickets now at nationals.com.
Going up swinging is Doug Fister. And it's coming back to Juan Uribe. I know it's been a little extra expense for us at Masson this year, but we hope you've enjoyed Scherzer Cam over the recent weeks. Last night he answered the call from the bullpen. And I know that...
Yeah, I just totally dropped the ball on the...
Even though it's 24 hours later, give him the line. Give him the line that you could have used there.
Hello, Chief. This is Max.
I knew you couldn't resist.
It was there, and I missed it last night. And we're driving home from the game, and I'm killing myself in the car going, Carp, it was right there on T, and I missed it.
I almost let you out on the Buckhead Freeway. 2-0, Denard Span, who walked his first time up.
I feel like between starts we should have a Scherzer Cam in the dugout watching him, because he fires guys up. He's into every game. He does everything between starts. Yeah, I mean, I just a little, we do a little box over the score. Just have him in that box the whole game. I think that'd be awesome. And I'm serious, not joking.
Yeah, and we're trying really hard, 3-1 now, not to be obsessed with Max, but he's making it very difficult on us.
I am. I can't help it.
3-1 pitch to Span. And Denard will look at it in there. Count goes full.
Call it our stalker Cam.
Well, that's a little obsessive, but I'll go for Max Cam.
All right.
Can't wait to see him pitch tomorrow night, and we'll see if the Nats can get in a position to make it another sweep of the Braves. They've won 2 out of 3 here, swept them twice at Nationals Park. No score, top of the 3rd here. And Denard Span is on again. He now has as many walks as he has strikeouts this year, 23. And that's a guy with 224 official at-bats.
Bryce Harper with 55 walks. 56 walks now. And 60 strikeouts, so he's close. But that's impressive.
Denny Espinosa, perfectly placed, and a base hit. It deflects, and that gives Span a chance to go to 3rd. Denard didn't really stop, but he had slowed around second base. And when the ball got away from Jace Peterson, it set up a 1st and 3rd, 1 out.
And does a nice job of using the hole created by Denard Span. Great read by Denard Span. I don't think he picked up his 3rd base coach. I think he just looked over his shoulder and did it himself. That's what good base runners do. You coach yourself on the bases. He saw it kick away, advanced to 3rd. So nice base running by Denard Span. And there goes the no-hitter.
Yeah, and that's what they said tonight when Joey Butler of Tampa Bay got a hit in the bottom of the 9th inning to break up a Hector Carrasco no-hit bid. He had walked a man, hit a man in the ninth, and then Butler got a base hit, but Cleveland still won the game handily 8-1. Golden opportunity for Escobar and the Nats to take the lead here. Whistler dropped a big breaking ball on him. Actually, it was the fastball after a really good breaking ball to strike out first time. That ball goes tailing inside.
Well, just the way Przinsky caught that two-seamer from Whistler give you an idea how much his ball's moving tonight. Fastball's moving all over the place, sliders moving.
Up the middle, and they're looking for two. They're going to get it, and that'll keep the Nats from scoring in the top of the third. Escobar has now bounced into 12 double plays this year.
Mercedes-Benz of Alexandria. No score. Game delayed by rain. 2 hours and 9 minutes. But the starting pitching has been good so far. Matt Whistler, a different guy than he was on the 25th in D.C. His cutter's cutting, sinker's moving a lot, getting some ground ball out. Slider's been good. Doug Fister the same. Big curveball to Juan Uribe. And then back doors the two-seam fastball to Simmons. And he's been good too.
And Doug Fister, 26 pitches, 17 strikes through 2. Whistler 49 over 30. He's had a couple of long innings because of walks, but the double play sure helped him. He'll bat after former Nat Yuri Perez here, bottom of the third. He'll line one, foul the other way.
Left field line, right field line. Giving the ball boys a workout here.
He's using the whole field except for fair territory. 8 for 28 Yuri is in 11 ball games.
No shift. Look at that. See, we need to start showing that instead of the shifts. Good old-fashioned play him straight up baseball. You just don't see nowadays.
He hits it right at somebody.
Ooh, could have been out.
He was coming out of the box. That was close. They're in the 10th inning now in that Mets game with the Cubs. No score. Fister jamming the right-handed hitter. Can of corn. Denard Span, and that would be 6 in a row.
Friday, July 3rd, Nats take on the Giants. 6:05 start. Come out to Nats Park. It's the place to be in this homestand. It always is, but Giants in town. You can celebrate Independence Day on the 3rd with post-game Freedom Fireworks. That's presented by Associated Builders and Contractors. Enjoy performance from the United States Navy Ceremonial Guard Drill Team to kick off the display. Go to nationals.com and get your tickets right now.
Matt Whistler 0 for 2 as a big league hitter with a sacrifice, and he had that bunt against Doug Fister last week. Doug working quickly, and he gets things going even a little quicker when that opposing pitcher gets in there after a first out. Chopper, third base. Escobar can wait for that extra hop. 2 outs. First time through the order. Atlanta goes 0 for 8 with a walk to Maybin and 2 strikeouts. Freddie Freeman is eligible to come off the DL this Friday, but the Braves aren't sure he will be ready. This is a suffering offense that misses him terribly. They've scored 22 runs in their last 11 games. The Nats pitching staff will be happy to see him in September.
They will?
At least not till then.
Who's going to be happy to see him?
The fact that he's just missed 2 consecutive series. All right, Span takes care of that. Jace Peterson down. Doug Fister on his game. Bryce has walked. Harper followed by Ramos and Robinson. Straight ahead.
Who's going to be the American standard? Who's hot, who's not? Probably the 2 guys with beards on the screen. Bryce Harper, hot. 398 average. Look at the OPS. That's against the Braves this season. And Nick Markakis is 0 for his last 330 in the worst slump ever. No, that's home runs, folks. He has 0 home runs in his last 330 plate appearances. 10 in each of his previous 9 seasons. I don't want to say that Camden Yards might have something to do with that stat, but much more hitter-friendly, home run-friendly ballpark than Turner Field for sure.
Yeah. And D. Gordon had an inside-the-park homer to get off of that 0 for list. So Nick Markakis, still one of the best hit collectors in the league. And here's Bryce Harper.
Did you hear the segue there? They went from the song Happy by Pharrell to Booze.
And that's ball 5 to Bryce.
We're so happy. Boo.
Big rip. So Harper on 3 times in this series already. In 6 plate appearances. Nissan tracks this heater.
93, some runs, starts as a strike, ends up out of the zone. Bryce knew as soon as he pulled the trigger it was a ball. He's hit that pitch before after missing it. See if they go there again. Slider.
Stays up and away. 49 pitches, 30 strikes in Matt Whistler's first 3 innings. Thanks to a base hit, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. C.B. Buckner is going to punch out Bryce Harper on a breaking ball that came in from the side door. And that's number 5 for the rookie Whistler.
No, backdoor slider. It looked like it was going to back up, and I think it came back and caught the corner. Probably too close to take. Good frame by Przynski. Good pitch by Whistler.
Bryce didn't say a word, put his head down, walked away. Wilson Ramos struck out swinging on a big breaking ball with 2 on 2 out back in the first. And a high chopper to Andrelton Simmons. He takes about 4 steps and then throws it. Inside the numbers from Jeep and every month. 10 and 13 April. Look at the offense. It's kind of stayed the same all the way through. Pitching's been much better. Interesting, the Nats had the highest ERA in May, but they went 18 and 9.
Fielding percentage solid. 15 and 12 record in June. Banged up, solid.
Yeah, they've called out the Nationals reserve this month. Matt Williams calling on Robinson and Taylor and Moore.
Look at you making up a name for the bench in the middle of the broadcast. It's probably going to stick. Nationals reserves.
Or reserve. These guys have all done a great job. Lobatone when called upon.
I like it.
Dan Ugglas some key hits. And Robinson will get jammed and pop one straight back and just over the screen. Didn't sound like a homer, but Clint was strong enough to get it out of here last night.
Well, it fouled off a nasty sinker before. It just got a piece of a 2-seam runner about 95 going away from him. Then he got a 3-2 curveball and rode it out of here. Then he went helmet on, helmet off, helmet on, helmet off. Very confused after the home run, but a great swing by Robinson nonetheless. You know what he was thinking? Somebody's going to take my helmet off. I took it off, so I got to put it back on. Then the helmet taker offer guy was Ian Desmond. He's in the batter's box, so he put it back on. And then took it off, and I forgot where I was.
I think Lobatone framed his helmet after he took it off. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Robinson just staying on the ball. First time up, he rolled over a ground ball to Kelly Johnson at first base. That went right behind Tony Tarasco. About another bat that looks like it's seen some action. The one Clint Robinson's wielding right now. And that is straight up on the infield. Simmons comes tearing in, and he makes the catch.
Nobody wanted that, and Simmons took charge. Everybody standing around looking at each other. And Andrelton Simmons says, I got it. Came all the way from shortstop in front of the mound, and that was getting interesting in a hurry. Watch this. Everybody just standing there. Whistler's pointing at it. Hey, can I get some help here? Anybody? Bueller? Nice play. Rain delayed 2 hours and 9 minutes. Nata dudes hanging out. They're not going anywhere, and they know all about hashtags. It's time to tweet your strongest fan photo using hashtag NatsCouchCam, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast that's brought to you by T-Mobile. That could be interesting.
What Doug Fister's doing is interesting. 1 walk, couple of strikeouts in 3 innings. Maben, Markakis, Przinsky, 2-3-4 for the Braves.
Is that the kid with the Blake Trinan glove we just showed?
Up the middle, Desmond to his left. No chance to throw out Maben.
Pretty close.
Great athletic play by the Nats shortstop. Atlanta base hit number 1.
Man, pretty close. Ian Desmond selling out. That looked like a hit all the way. The infield here at Turner Field as quick as it gets in the big leagues. Desmond up quick, throws a nice long hop to Robinson. And Cameron Maben, who told me he's got some plantar fasciitis, watch him when he crosses the bag, that little limp to slow down. We've seen that with Ryan Zimmerman. It must be barking after the rain delay.
It'll bring in Nick Markakis. Popped up to Espinosa first time. And this one is a fly ball to left. Desmond out. Taylor in. Michael A. on the trot for the first out.
Don't miss the DMV's premier PGA Tour golf event, the Quicken Loans National. Join host Tiger Woods on July 28th through August 2nd at Robert Trent Jones Golf Club. For tickets, go to QLNational.com. Are you
AJ
in that?
Przinsky.
You in that tournament, Carter?
No. Kidding. I get invited to scrambles.
I think you were, and I think you should be in it. I think you should be part of the Pro-Am if they have one. You wouldn't be nervous at all. You wouldn't duck hook one right into the gallery.
No, and I've putted before with both knees knocking against each other. That ball pulled foul. Doug Fister trying to get 86 to the knee's outer edge. He took a little bit of a look in after that one. One on, one out, bottom of the 4th in a scoreless game. Maben off and running, ball fouled off. He had a good jump.
I might be wrong on this, but I feel like there was one stolen base attempt on Doug Fister last year, and it was Gerardo Parra, and he got thrown out, if I'm not mistaken. So Cameron Maben going right there is a bigger deal than you would think. Doug Fister very quick to the plate and very rarely stole upon or even tried, attempted.
Maben 13 out of 17 this year.
And I think Parra was picked off, too, and it went down as a caught stealing. I don't think he was even going. Might have left a little bit early, and they got in a rundown, if I'm remembering that whole deal right.
Hanger. And Przinsky, because of the off speed, way out ahead. That ball's sitting up. Oh, they had him leading the wrong way. Maben just able to stop and get back. Doug Fister timing that throw perfectly.
Yeah, attention to detail. Every part of Doug Fister's game always on point, whether it's fielding position, keeping runners close, pickoff moves at first, quick to the plate, incorporating his infielders behind him. And we all know about his offensive skills as well, bunting and swinging it.
Dan Isanya over there making the correct call. 2-2 with one out. Runner going again. And evidently that ball not fouled. And Maben is in the second base and not feeling too good, it appears. Had his hands on his knees there for a while.
No, we showed him pulling up after the infield single, and but a pretty good jump by Maben, kind of just a first move deal. Guess and go like you would against a lefty.
His 14th of the year. And Brzezinski keeps this one fair and out of here. Braves lead 2-0. That's A.J. Brzezinski's third career home run against Doug Fister and his 5th of this year.
Just flirted with that inner half one too many times, and the reason he's going in there, if you remember Brzezinski's first at bat, he hit a ball hard to Michael Taylor and left, so Doug Fister switching up his own personal game plan, saying, I'm going to bust Brzezinski in second time, because he hit the ball well to left first time. Brzezinski stayed inside of that one. 2-0 Braves. Good at bat by the Braves catcher. Fouled off some tough pitches to get one out over and put it in the bleachers.
A rare Atlanta homer. They did hit one last night, 9th inning Uribe against David Carpenter. That's only their 46th of the year. That's the fewest of any team in the big leagues. Nats have given up 54 on the year now. Fister, his 7th. And now 3 pitches later, it's 3-0 on Uribe. He rips one to center. Span can only watch it. Wow. Green light indeed. That's Uribe's second career homer against Doug.
Well, he leaves nothing in the bag right here on the 3-0 hack. Got a bell-tied fastball right down the middle. You see the patented Juan Uribe jazz hands after he hits it. And he knew right away he got it, and that was a far tater to center field. Back-to-back jacks here in the 4th for the Braves.
Second time the Braves have done that this year. So 3-0 with one out here in the 4th. Kelly Johnson, the hitter. Doug Fister went from no hits through 3 to 3 hits, 2 homers, and 4 batters. On a pitch up, that ball stays fair. Base hit. Picked up by Escobar as it was about to either hit or go right over the bag.
That's why it's such a strange game. You hit one about 450 feet for a homer. The next guy walks up and hits a swinging bunt down the third base line, and there's nothing you can do about it. They're both hits. One is 4 bases, one is 1 base, but they both count the same.
Andrelton Simmons is next. Fister got him looking first time.
And I know I was going in on Brzezinski because of a hard hit ball to left first time up, and the Nats have had success with AJ pounding him in. You remember he broke a few bats here last night against Jordan Zimmerman with that slider in. I think Doug Fister trying to do the same thing. Just didn't get it in there far enough where he wanted it.
Runner going, inside out swing. Espinosa has to reverse himself to go back to the ball. Kelly Johnson at second base, 2 outs. Nats will walk Yuri Perez and take on the pitcher. Down by 3. You don't want the number 8 hitter to hurt you and make it 4-0.
I remember last time when Doug was here in April, end of April, he had a rough one, 5 2/3, gave up 5 runs on 10 hits. 4 of those were earned.
And that was the first game of that series the night before the comeback.
And the streak.
So first and second, 2 outs. Matt Whistler, the hitter. Next 5, it's Max Scherzer. And the Braves scheduled to throw 24-year-old rookie Manny Banuelos tomorrow night in his major league debut. Giants 6 o'clock Friday, 11 a.m. Saturday, 8 p.m. Sunday. And then the Reds come in before the Nats head off to Baltimore prior to the All-Star break. So put together the starting times for this game and the next 3. 9:19, 6, 11 a.m. and 8. Chopper, no balls, 2 strikes. Cubs have scored a run against the Mets in the top of the 11th. 1-0. Other way, base hit. Harper charges around third. Kelly Johnson. Bryce takes a shot at third and safe over there with Yuri Perez. And Atlanta leads 4-0 on Matt Whistler's first big league hit and RBI.
But you still like the move by Matt Williams. You know, you always walk the 8th hitter to get to the pitcher anytime you get a chance. And Bryce Harper opting to go to third base. And I thought it was pretty close at third. I thought Perez beat it, but very close. Some damage done by the Braves pitcher, Whistler.
9th man to bat in the inning is Jace Peterson. And he goes up hacking. Denard Span is under it in center. The Braves will score 4 on 5 hits, including Matt Whistler's first ever.
4-0 as we head to the top of the 5th inning. A.J. Pierzynski with a blast. Juan Uribe with a blast. The Braves score 4, and the Nats trying to jump back into this. They've done it before in this ballpark. Join the Nats on Saturday, July 4th for Independence Day. That's the 3rd installment of the series, the Patriotic Series. That's presented by SAIC. Be a part of the salute to our country as the Nats take on the Giants. 11:05 start. Have brunch with Bob at the ballpark. Enjoy a variety of brunch food and cocktail items. Sure,
you can find me. It's on me.
Maybe some Bloody Marys involved in that one. Red Porch, other locations throughout the park. Gates open at 8:30. You should be there at sunrise to get good seats. Visit Nationals.com to purchase your tickets now. The best day of the year at the ballpark besides opening day, July 4th. I love it, and I can't wait for it.
Down 4. What's the big deal?
Yeah. Oh.
Nats were down 9-1 and 10-2 in that game. Here's Ian Desmond, top of the 5th inning. To Hopper, Uribe. And Ian Desmond is 0 for 6 in this series.
I would say the big deal is that so far Whistler's been throwing very well. That's the only difference. You could tell on the 28th that Julio Teheran was pitching not to lose. He lost his aggressive nature. There were some good at-bats early in that game. He started nibbling with his off-speed. See that one kind of coming. Whistler so far hasn't really showed a weakness yet in this one. He's been good.
Taylor bouncing ball to second base first time. And a ball low. 2-1. Doug Fister on deck. The way the Braves have been going, that was a veritable explosion for them in the 4th inning. As mentioned, 22 runs their last 11 games, and they get 4 in the span of 1 inning in the 4th on 5 hits. And Brzezinski's homer got the whole thing moving. 2-2 now. Taylor couldn't get to it. Strikeout number 6 for Matt Whistler. Mercedes-Benz will track it.
Oh, he's had the sinker going, the slider going. This is a cutter. You see it kind of move across at 93 miles away, an hour away from Taylor. Tried to shorten up and go the other way. That ball just had too much late movement.
Doug Fister fouled out to the 3rd baseman, Uribe, first time. Marlins beat the Giants again tonight, 6-5 down in Miami. Phillies beaten by Milwaukee. They've lost 3 straight. And the Cubs have added another run. They lead the Mets 2-0, 11th inning, still batting. That's trying to mount to come back here in Atlanta. And he goes 3-0. Whistler was considered the #1 prospect in the San Diego organization prior to the trade that brought him here. So the Braves might be looking at some long-term benefit here from that deal. 3-2 pitch with 2 outs. And he walks Doug Fister. 4th walk in 5 innings. And Denard Span 2 of those stepping in.
Sometimes when you have the movement that Whistler has tonight on his fastball, it's tough to keep it in the strike zone. I think that's been the difference in those 4 walks. The 2-seam fastball's got a little more run than we saw last time. Shaking his head.
Had that long first inning. Then he went 10, 12, and 13 pitches his next 3. Up and away to Denard.
Interesting move by the Braves. They have Kelly Johnson playing behind Doug Fister. Doug can run, even though you're down by 4 runs, if they're going to give you a free stolen base. And he came in behind him a little more this pitch.
And Span to center for Cameron Maben. Through 5, the Nationals still have 1 base hit. Yandy Espinosa back in the 3rd. 4-0 Atlanta.
Time for some Geico highlights. Why are we showing you this? Well, it's the first stolen base off Doug Fister as a Washington National. There was 2 attempts before this. They both were caught. And the last stolen base off Doug Fister was August 23rd, 2013, when he was with the Tigers. Eric Young Jr. stole second base off him. So, like we suspected, that was a little bigger stolen base than you would think normally.
41 starts ago, the last time somebody got him. Doug Fister, 4 innings, 66 pitches, 41 strikes. And 29 of those came last inning. So here's Maben, who led that inning off with the hot shot up the middle that Ian Desmond grabbed, but just couldn't throw out the speedy center fielder. So Maben on base twice tonight. A walk back in the first. You're hearing about this young man early in the history of the Nats, as he was coming through the minor leagues with the Tigers and then traded to Florida in the Dontrell Willis Miguel Cabrera deal. He was always considered a hot prospect. Maybe finally able to do some things here in Atlanta.
Just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one late at night, to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game. That's brought to you by Miller Lite.
Later in tonight's game.
Or for breakfast tomorrow.
Nick Markakis
So we always show. Look at Wilson Ramos wanted that call. CB not giving it to him, and then they're having a little talk. We always show the strike zone. In a Doug Fister start, you just really need to draw a line like this, and everything below that is where the ball, when he's having a good game is, and when he's having a rough one, it's above that line. There's only a few pitchers in baseball you could do that with, but Doug Fister's one of them. It's all you got to do is draw it right around the knees, and everything below that is good, and everything above it is bad. Pretty simple. That's good.
That's good.
Should I just leave it up there?
Yeah, we have our own baseball limbo here in the bottom of the fifth inning.
You know what's really helping me with the telestrator is my Snapchat skills.
Okay, translate that for me. And I'll
just, with Snapchat, you can draw with your finger.
Got it. Off the glove of Clint Robinson, who made a great effort and got a piece of that ball. Nick Markakis, third hit of the series, 89th of the season.
That one might have been right on that line that I drew. And Clint Robinson gave it a good effort. The ball just hit too hard.
A.J. Pierzynski got a breaking ball low and inside last time and rifled one out of here over the right field wall to get the Braves up by 2.
That last pitch, not the worst pitch in the world by Doug. Just kind of looking in there the whole at bat. He was trying to get something to hook out of here. Seemed like he had intentions of hitting a home run from the time he got in there.
Oh, 2 pitch with 1 out and a bouncer. Desmond can go to the bag and then throw out A.J. Pierzynski on a tailor-made 6-3 double play ball. Honda do-ups in the top of the 6th inning for the Nats. Danny Espinosa has Washington's only hit tonight. Danny's been great lately. 306 over the last 13 games. 16 hits, 6 RBIs against Atlanta this year.
Braves, for every Nationals walk, Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield contributes $50 to support Girls on the Run DC. The Nats have drawn 242 walks for a total of $12,100. Care First Blue Cross Blue Shield encourages each of us to take that first step towards a healthier and more active lifestyle.
That music kind of sounds like something's about to happen. Danny Espinosa 1 for 2 tonight.
I'm in.
It sounded like a movie trailer with some action. A base hit off the glove of Jace Peterson back in the third. All Whistler's given up, although he has walked 4 batters. And that one just fading away.
Bugs Bunny. Second base, third base, first base, shortstop, left field. He's hit everywhere but fourth. Did you see the bottom of that?
Yeah. That means he's even hit 9th, right? Against a couple of ball clubs that have been batting the pitcher 8th.
For American League team in interleague play.
Way outside. It's another walk. He's got great stuff tonight, and you would think you've got to be able to get something done against a guy walking 5, but he's been kind of conveniently wild and hard to hit.
The second best comeback against the Braves at Turner Field this year started with a leadoff walk in the 6th.
And a box score showing 1 hit at this point of the game by Danny Espinosa, who's now on for the 2nd time. Escobar swinging strikeout and a 6-4-3 double play ball when the Nats had a chance to take the lead, 1st and 3rd, 1 out. That ended the 3rd inning. Big rip.
That's where you want the ball off Whistler, right there. Belt high. He's been down with the sinker. Escobar had his pitch.
And Luis Avilan with that pitch count mounting, getting ready. Braves might have to get a bunch of innings out of their bullpen tonight. And Escobar out to right center. Maben going and going, and he's got it about 395 feet away. A long out. A home run in some parks, but not with the deep gap here.
I'll tell you what, Freddie Gonzalez is doing the Nationals a favor right here, and I'm sticking to that. I'm not second guessing him. I'm first guessing him. Whistler's been great tonight. He's going to his bullpen right now. He saw a walk to Danny Espinosa, a deep fly ball from Yunel Escobar. And a guy that has handled the Nats to the tune of 1 hit tonight is being taken out here for a lefty in favor of a lefty to face Bryce Harper. Okay, let's see.
All right. As far as we know, Bryce has not hit any grand slams with 1 guy on base this year. may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the expressed written consent of the Washington Nationals. A lot of baseball yet to be played in this one tonight. Bryce Harper is 1 for 9 career against Luis Avilan with 3 walks.
A fastball 94, curveball 77. He'll throw the changeup to lefties. Most lefties don't do that. He'll definitely throw one to Bryce here. He's thrown it 27% of the time at 82 miles an hour, and the opponents are hitting 235. Lefties, 309. That's right, 309. And I just thought Whistler was cruising, and maybe Freddie Gonzalez knows something that we don't.
Whistler first start against the Mets, 88 pitches. Second start against the Nats, 75. And he was in the mid-80s when he was removed. Bryce a walk and a strikeout tonight. And he pulls one foul. Cubs held on to beat the Mets tonight 2-0 in 11.
Mets tried a suicide squeeze with runners on second and third tonight. Missed the squeeze, and both runners were tagged out at third.
Oops. And that had to be when the game was scoreless, right?
It was.
David Ardsma, right-hander. Freddie Gonzalez going situational in the 6th inning. We'll see. Ramos on deck, and then another lefty, Robinson. 1-1 to Bryce. He'll hammer one into right field. Espinosa got out of the way of the ball and then gets over to third base. And Bryce Harper is on base for the 4th time against the Braves.
You know, who knows what's going to happen in this ball game, but from a player's perspective, when you have a guy with a nasty sinker slider combination that's been shoving all night long, and all of a sudden you get anybody else out there, it'll liven up a dugout a little bit. And this isn't the same Braves bullpen they've had in the past as you look at the sequence to Bryce Harper in the 3rd pitch right down the middle. So stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Sleep when you're dead. This could be fun.
Wilson Ramos 0 for 3 against Avilan, stepping in, and 93 by him.
I don't know if I was in the third base dugout, I'd be perked up right now just getting Whistler out of there. He was great.
Now that the boos have subsided, it's very quiet here. Outside to Ramos, 1-1. Wilson's done a great job in these situations. Off speed, it stayed away, and so did Wilson's bat.
You know who's really upset right now he's out of the game? Whistler's mother. Not happy.
That rocking chair going crazy right now. Huh? Oh boy. Ramos a tapper. Anything here but the double play, and that's exactly what the Braves did. Bryce Harper did what he could at second base, and a rally killer, at least for now. Matt Williams, I think, is going to wave it off, and the Nats are gone to the top of the 6th inning. 2 costly double play balls tonight.
Krzyzewski dropped the barrel on it, rode it out of here. That was a 2-run tater, made it 2-0 Braves. Hit speed 96 on that one. And then Juan Uribe on a 3-0 fastball right down the middle. Knew he got it. And he got every bit of that one. And it made it 3-0 Braves at that time, 4-0. And here's Juan Uribe again. His hit speed 104 miles an hour.
Jammed him on that one. Back to the screen it goes. Wow. Right in the turbo zone. That pitch number 4 for the home run. Uribe, Johnson, Simmons. Bottom 6 for the Braves. And Fister goes breaking ball outside. Not biting on any of those, and I guess he did. Dan Isanya just punched him out. Juan doesn't complain a lot. He thought he was going to first. Close. Third strikeout. Braves box. Other than a hit by Markakis in the 5th, everything jammed into that 4th inning. May have been the leadoff infield hit, the Krzyzewski homer, the Uribe home run. And then Matt Whistler's first big league hit. On a pitch up, that's well out of play off the bat of Kelly Johnson. And this one to left, slicing, and Taylor, no time to get there, but a guy brought his glove and a nice catch. Breaking ball, look at the funny action on that thing. Desmond's got a gun, and it gets away from Clint Robinson. A little one-hop liner on the infield that had all kind of spin on it.
Yeah, it just kind of kicks away from Desmond, but that shouldn't influence the throw. I think he just had to hurry because the ball took so long to get out. He was thinking about barehanding it too. And the throw just wide at first base, and that's going to be another error on Ian Desmond as Johnson goes to second base. Could be a hit and an error. How'd they rule it?
Well, so far they've only put the error on the board. Braves had 6 hits. They still do. Either way, error number 18 on Ian Desmond and number 50 on the Nats. So evidently ruled a 2-base error. And the 0-1 to Andrelton Simmons, who's 0 for 2. That's outside. Blake Trinan, Nats pitching spot is due up 4th in the top of the 7th.
You know, knowing Doug for a couple of years now, it's all you have to do is look at your scorecard early to know what kind of outing he's going to have. And what do I mean by that? Ground ball outs versus fly ball outs. There's 8 fly ball outs tonight for the Braves, and you saw it early in the first inning with 3 fly ball outs. Never a good sign in Doug Fister's start. When you see, 6, 7, 8, 9 ground ball outs, he only has 4 tonight so far. I mean, that's really, with the line I drew in the strike zone in ground ball outs, you could really simplify a Doug Fister start. You really don't have to get into a whole lot of analysis other than if he keeps the ball down, his infielders are working behind him, you know it's going to be a good night for Doug Fister.
He didn't have one by a position player until Simmons in the 4th inning. The one earlier than that was the pitcher. And there's a bouncing ball for Danny Espinosa. The runner going to third, 2 outs. Turner Field, Atlanta. We were delayed 2 hours and 9 minutes by rain. Game got underway at 9:19. Scoreless for 3. Braves got 4 in the 4th. And they're trying to add on another against Doug in what could be his last inning. He'll face Yuri Perez.
What time did we start here last year?
Midnight-ish.
I thought it was too.
And a bouncer. Fister right in front of his catcher. That's unusual because Kelly Johnson stayed at third base with 2 outs, thinking I might run into a tag if I go home. So it's a base hit for Perez, but no advancement by the runner at third base.
Yeah, that's strange, huh? There's 2 outs. You have to run right here. And maybe he thought, like you said, he was going to get tagged out at home. But the Nats will definitely trade an infield single. And the runner staying in third with 2 outs.
Joey Turdoslavich will hit for Luis Avila. Turdoslavich career 1 for 3 against Doug Fister. And a big breaking ball and kind of a funny half helicopter type swing. 1 ball, 1 strike. And another funny swing on a curveball down and in. One ball, 2 strikes. Why not try it again?
Good block.
Wilson blocking everything back there. Time given very late.
Doug Fister looking at C.B. Buckner like that was way late.
And Yuri Perez was already running to second, trying to be on the move here with 2 outs. Flint Robinson had to fight that ball a little bit, throw down into the runner, aware that Kelly Johnson was coming down the line at third. Good fastball tailing away at 88. Doug's best heater of the night right there. Strikeout number 4. Braves lead 4-0. 3 innings left.
play at third base. Watch Wilson Ramos right here. If you're Kelly Johnson, you're looking at Wilson Ramos. If he leaves his spot, that's all you're reading at third base. Go ahead and roll it. Watch Ramos on the swinging bunt from Yuri Perez. So as soon as he comes out at third, even if there's 2 outs, I'm going on contact anyways, but there's nobody at home. CB Buckner does a nice job of throwing the bat away, but as soon as Ramos leaves, Kelly Johnson, why is that a big play? Well, we'll see. It's 4-0, and that's still in grand slam range.
Yeah.
If he scores there, 5-0, much bigger than 4-0. I bet on some ball clubs where managers will actually bunt runners into scoring position up 4-0 to take that one swing away from the opponent. So maybe it's a big play, maybe it's not, but Kelly Johnson probably should have scored right there.
And a ball ripped. Foul. Against Nick Massett by Clint Robinson, leading off the 7th. And another one right over the tarp. Nick Massett, 33-year-old veteran. Started the year with Miami. 186 ERA in 8 ball games. And now 18 appearances for the Braves with an ERA a lot higher than that. Good take by Clint.
That's the curveball around 80. He throws it 20% of the time. Split 6%. Fastball 66 at 92.
And that one sails upstairs. And a 2-2 to Clint, 0 for 2 tonight. Wow. That thing at a 90-degree angle to the right. He was so far out ahead. Robinson, 1 for 2 career against Massett. That one tails back. And I saw some body English by the umpire, but he never threw out the right arm. Close. Stayed inside, right call, according to Mercedes-Benz on the track. 3-2 now. Base runners needed. And he'll take the walk. Good as a hit right now. The Braves have walked 6 tonight.
Nats take on the Giants on the 5th. That's a Sunday game. ESPN's going to broadcast that, whatever. Sunday Night Baseball, 8:08 start. It's going to be fun to be at the ballpark that night. First 25,000 fans receive a Steven Strasburg bobblehead that's presented by Geico. Visit nationals.com to purchase your ticket. So the Nats going prime time, Sunday, July 5th, 8:08 start. That might be the longest separation of start times in baseball this year. 11 o'clock on Saturday, 8 o'clock on Sunday.
Desmond taking a pitch there. Trying to work the count a little bit. Just the important thing, getting somebody on base here. Taylor next, and then the pitcher spot. One and two. Dan Uggla. We'll get a warm greeting here. And a breaking ball hit to third. I'm surprised that Peterson threw it, but they get the first out of the inning. So now Michael A. Taylor with Dan Uggla stepping out on deck.
Michael 0 for 2, strikeout, ground out. Hey, you never know. You get on there for Ugly, he pops one out of here. You got a 1-run game. Still not over.
And as you bring that up, the matchup sheet says Ugla has a career homer against Massett. Michael A. Taylor 1 for 2 with a double against him.
Shook off slider, shook off curveball, going with the fastball in.
And a 1-1 low in the strike zone. Taylor IDing that one way outside.
Overly concerned with Ian Desmond, I feel like, at this time. 4-0 game. Przinsky looking for the pickoff. Massett's thrown over there. Focus should be 100% on the hitter, up by 4 runs, but not so much.
Taylor will guide one to left. Breaking ball hanging a bit in the middle of the plate. Yeah, so maybe not worried enough about the hitter. Now he's got plenty to worry about.
Such a good 2-strike approach by Michael Taylor. He moves the line to Dan Ugla, who came off the bench on April 28th and hit the triple in the gap. And then we all know about the next at bat for Dan Ugla. 13-12. Thanks for coming. Drive home safely, everybody. And I set the over-under at 1.5. How many times we'd show the Dan Ugla home run in this series? Carp, you took the over. I took the under. You win. That's 2.
Well, when you took 1,
well, I didn't think we'd show it. Maybe we showed it 400 times this year.
Jeez.
I didn't think we'd show it more than once.
I'd take Nook Logan if the number was 1 as far as career highlights.
Hey, I set a really good over-under 1.5. We had action on both sides right there.
Jeez. Those numbers we told you about. The homer, 3 RBIs.
Tell you what, he's thinking it. He is. He has to be. He's coming off the bench, letting it rip. Good memories of the last time he was here. It's huge for a ball player. Probably not a lot of good memories for Ugla in this ballpark until what we just showed you. Put a lot of demons to rest.
He's ahead the count here. Fastball tails back to get the outer edge. Six hits in 6 games against his old ball club here. And a 1-1 popped up. It is about 4 rows deep as AT Przinsky climbed to the top of the wall. Was hoping to reach over that short screen, but it was just way out of reach.
He would have made all the highlight reels if he caught this one.
Yeah, it's hard to go Jeter or Donaldson with that screen there. One-two again to Dan Ugla now. And did he go? He did not. It's Dan Isanya with the call down there.
Well, after Juan Uribe, you feel like Isanya's looking for it, but Uggla didn't go.
Yeah, that wasn't even close. Looked closer live than it did on tape.
It's usually the opposite.
4-0 game, top of the 7th. Nats trying to get on the board here. And a hanger. Uggla high in the air, deep left center. Maben is there. Catches that ball 390 feet away, and it was almost 4-3.
Tricked me too. I thought he got him. Caught it out front, stayed back nice, almost like he was sitting on it. Had a little stumble out of there, and he's thinking, I got him again. Had a good sound. And I don't know if the ball's not carrying to left center field. It's been carrying to right tonight. Maben runs it down, and that gave everybody in this ballpark that's a Braves fan a scare.
Next up, Denard Span. 0 for 1 with a pair of walks tonight.
It's a good at-bat off the bench, regardless of making it out. 2-strike approach, still hit one that far, and you thought he got him.
And he was hitting for Doug Fister, who goes 6 tonight. 7 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, 1 intentional. Struck out 4. 98 pitches, 63 strikes. Brzezinski finds it.
That look that Uggla had that we just showed, he looked bewildered as well. I'd love to run down there and ask him if he got it. Might have got under it just a hair. I mean, it was a towering fly ball to left center field, but definitely had the sound.
And Denard Span will deliver an RBI hit out to center. Over to third base is Taylor. Nats on the board 4-1 as Denard Span picks up his teammates here. And the inning not over yet, although it is for Massett.
I'm telling you, just get a feel this one's not over. As soon as Whistler came out of this game, you know the way the Nats are playing, the way they're feeling, you know the way the Braves are playing, you know how they're feeling. Great at-bat by Denard Span. Lines moving, 3-run ball game.
Danny Espinosa has been on base twice tonight. There's a big run at third. 4-1 now. Batter. So there's some firepower down there waiting for David Artsma as the right-hander for the Braves makes his 8th appearance. 1.29 ERA, a run and 3 hits in 7 innings so far, but he has walked 5.
A fastball go about 92. Slider 81, and the changeup is a split change at 84. Let's see if Danny Espinosa can keep the line moving here in the 7th.
Espinosa 0 for 1 against Artsma. And of course, he'll stay on the left side of the plate. So Freddie Gonzalez pulls out one right-hander, brings in another to face Danny. Third base, Michael A. Taylor. First base, the RBI man, Denard Span. Espinosa, 23 RBIs. Span just drove in his 22nd. He's going to take an aggressive lead over there, maybe get a little bit of this pitcher's attention. Strike one. Danny this year 17 for 37 against the Braves, with 2 homers, 6 RBIs. 6 of the hits extra bases. Way outside, 1-1.
Anytime you see a guy with more walks than strikeouts, get him in the zone. That's why you saw Espinosa take it on the first pitch.
Good rip by Danny, 1-2. Fastball upstairs, 91, unreachable. Nats will settle for 1 in an inning where they had 2 hits and a base on balls. It's our Hyundai 7th inning stretch here in Atlanta. Test drive the award-winning Elantra this 4th of July at your local Hyundai dealer.
Seventh inning. It's time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo using hashtag NatsCouchCam, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast that is brought to you by T-Mobile.
Felipe Rivero takes over here.
I'd imagine if you're taking a picture of yourself on the couch right now, there's a good chance you're sleepy. 95-mile-an-hour fastball, 80 on the slider, 87 on the changeup, 11th appearance. Check out the strikeouts to walks. 14 strikeouts versus just 2 walks. And lefty's hitting .235 against Felipe Rivero.
Jace Peterson faces him, top of the order for the Braves. Bottom 7, these 2 lefties match up for the first time. Felipe got his first big league win. Recently. That was the 11-inning game when the Nats walked off the Braves 2-1 last Wednesday on the Desmond sac fly.
If I'm left-handed facing him, I'm not comfortable. Not even close to comfortable. 96, 97. Slinging it in there like that. I mean, who's going to stay in there? Left-handed. Not too many guys.
Bail, hard to whale. And a 1-2, and there's the big breaking ball. Blocked by Ramos. Wilson finds it and throws on to Robinson for the first out. Let's check in with Dan.
Bob, you mentioned earlier that the Mets lost 2-0 today. They are really scuffling right now. They've gone 20 straight innings without scoring a run. And in their last 13 games, they've scored just 22 runs in that span. Terry Collins is kind of running out of answers right now. Reporters in New York are asking him what can be done about this, how he can explain the lack of scoring, and he doesn't really know what to tell them. The Mets are in a tough way, and they're pretty banged up too. David Wright, Michael Kadire went down injured the other day. The team closest to the Nationals really scuffling.
Yeah, I did see a note where David Wright is just now starting some baseball activities. But with their loss tonight, thanks Dan, they're only one game over 500 now at 40-39. Cub pitching, stopping the Mets, 2 straight shutouts. Healthy Hat, Cameron Maybin, bottom of the 7th inning. He has walked, he's 1 for 2. A base hit, a steal, and a run scored. And even to the right-handed batter, some curvature right there. Fastball, 96. 2 down.
I mean, this guy's got closer stuff. There's no doubt about it. If he's throwing strikes, which he has, we showed you 14 strikeouts and 2 walks. The deception with 96, the way he crossfires and slings. This is closer stuff someday.
Nick Markakis 0 for 1 against him.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you could see him getting more confident every time he takes the mound. Doesn't matter what situation, he's throwing strikes and it's dirty.
A little bit low with that hook. Looking ahead to the 8th, by the way, Nats have 3, 4, 5 due up. Out of play. Four-1 ball game, bottom of the 7th. Breaking ball. A little in between hop for Danny Espinosa. Played it nice and softly. 2 Ks and a 1 hopper. Rivero gets it to the 8th. And again, this game far from over. Brought to you by Ocean City, Maryland. Put your vacation days to good use in Ocean City, Maryland. Book now at ococean.com.
Ah, the Magic Kingdom. 4-1. Yunel Escobar about to lead this off. Don't be afraid to get on the computer right now and vote for Yunel Escobar to be an all-star. Denard Span. I think Bryce is a lock, but if you want, vote for Bryce too. All-star game is in July, Cincinnati. Go to nationals.com, vote now. Voting ends Thursday, July 2nd at 11:59 p.m. Vote for the Nats up to 35 times. I like it. Go do it now.
Right-hander Jim Johnson. 29 strikeouts, 13 walks, 37 innings. ERA 2.43.
Yeah, fastball 94, curveball 79, changeup 88.
Yunel Escobar is 3 for 13 against him. This is a big man with some serious stuff.
Big curveball right there. Yeah, top of the zone, and it came down right in the middle. Buckled you now.
Time.
32 years of age. Just 4 days ago, Jim Johnson. And that is nasty to a right-handed batter. Devastating run and sink at 94.
Washington, D.C. Lexus dealers, they're donating $250 to the Children's National Health System for every home run a Nats player hits this season. So keep them coming. It's for a wonderful cause. Lexus, the pursuit of perfection.
Here's Bryce Harper. 0 for 2 against Johnson career with a couple of ground balls. Bryce has walked and singled. He's 1 for 2. So the .464 on base percentage and the .340 batting average go up a couple of clicks. He gets jammed on that one, and that ball is out of play.
Big ricochet. Who's got it? Thumb guard. Kind of cushions against the vibration if you don't hit one square.
Breaking ball that Bryce can't get to.
You see him kind of stop in the middle right there, try to keep his hands back.
Johnson 6'6", 240. Braves signed him as a free agent last December 4th. He was with Oakland and Detroit last year and struggled. ERA was around 7 at the big league level. Harper rips one. Picked. Little hop. Kelly Johnson to the pitcher. 2 down here in the 8th.
Ball hit hard to Johnson, but it was hit so hard he had plenty of time, stayed with it nice. Good play. Johnson to Johnson.
Wilson Ramos 0 for 3, a strikeout, 2 ground balls. And Ramos will rip this one out to right center. Nick Markakis has it. And the Nationals go 1-2-3, top of the 8th. It's still 4-1 Atlanta.
The properly named tool race. 4-1 as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. It's time for Toyota K's for Kids. The Washington area Toyota dealers want to help children and their families by donating $37 to the Children's Inn at NIH for every strikeout. Finance pitcher of the season. What else are we going to do? Hey, sweet dew.
Wow.
I like it a lot. Got a rally hat on.
Tomahawk chop to a whole new level right there. Another inning for Felipe Rivero. 12 pitches, 9 strikes in the 7th. Faces A.J. Pierzynski. Fastball a little low. A.J. 0 for 1 with a ground ball against him last week. And the Nats are looking at Jason Grilli in the 9th. Rivero needs to keep this a 3-run game.
It's a quick arm, 95 to 97 on top. What's that mean? It might play faster, just based on how hard he's throwing it with his arm, how quick his arm is.
Goes down to knock it down. Knows he has plenty of time, and he sends Clint Robinson across the bag into foul ground to catch another fastball. But Felipe never panicked on that play.
Well, maybe just a hair at the very end. But then he realized it was Pierzynski running, and watch this bullet. Nice play by Robinson.
There's Juan Uribe, 1 for 3 with a home run tonight. Fastball up. Wow.
It's a good fastball hitter that was late. Juan Uribe never met a fastball he didn't like. And he's geared up 1-0 for this. And he's still tardy. He's thinking of himself, man, this kid's got a good arm. I got to start even earlier.
Then he brings the breaking ball around. Beautiful.
So off of 95, you dropped this on me, huh? Okay. Now what do I do?
Another one.
Well, the Peanuts almost had a no-hitter tonight, so who knows what you're going to see when you go down there. They'll be at the Fitz July 4th and the 5th. don't forget about the highly anticipated Wilson Ramos Bufferine giveaway. That's on Sunday. All right.
To the right side, Danny Espinosa to his left. With his range, he made it look easy. Max Scherzer tomorrow night against the Braves.
Scherzer Day in Atlanta.
Yep. Second in ERA in the big leagues, third in strikeouts. 1.79. He's made history this year. He'll face a rookie in Manny Banuelos, who will make his Major League debut. We'll get you going at 6:30. So we'll let Johnny and Ray get all excited about this one for a half hour. We'll join you from the booth at 7. First pitch from the rookie Banuelos at 7:10. And then the Scherzer show sometime shortly thereafter. Kelly Johnson, 1 for 3 tonight, 0 for 1 career against Rivero. Target right down the middle, and the breaking ball stays to the right of Wilson Ramos. 2-1. Overpowering the right-handed batter. Espinosa out into right, but Bryce right behind him calls him off. Felipe Rivero, very impressive. 6 up, 6 down. Mr. Robinson leads off the top of the ninth. Desmond and Taylor to follow, and that's down by 3.
Some missed opportunities for the Nats, so a 4-1 ball game might be a little bit different. With 1 out in the third, Yunel Escobar 6-4-3 double play. With 1 out and runners on first and third in the sixth, Wilson Ramos with a 6-4-3 double play. And Danny Espinosa chased a high fastball with runners at the corners and 2 outs in the 7th inning. But at those double plays looking real big right now as we head to the top of the 9th inning.
Chris Johnson in for defense at first. He'll bat 9th on the double switch, and we'll see if he gets to bat. Jason Gurley will have a lot to say about that as he comes in seeking his 22nd save of the year. So 31 ball games, ERA okay, 3.14. And Grilli, 29 innings, 36 strikeouts.
Fastball averaging 94, slider 83, 2-pitch guy.
Clint Robinson up first, and he's 0 for 2 career against the 38-year-old right-hander.
Remember, Grilli was the guy they got on April 28th that we've shown you just a few times in the Dan Uggla home run. He was on the mound. He was the one that made the 2-strike mistake to Uggla. That was a 2-strike home run he hit to make it 13-12. Almost did it again here tonight with 2 strikes to make it a 1-run game.
Wow, right into the face mask of A.J. Pierzynski.
Here's what it sounds like. Get a couple base runners on and see what happens.
Upstairs, 3-1.
Robinson's done a nice job. I mean, the question here is, do you fill it up and hope you get the same pitch 3-2 as you get 3-1, or I mean, Nats need base runners. It'll be interesting to see what Robinson does here in a 3-1 count.
Clint walked his last time. It's right down the middle, and he was a little late for it. Clint Robinson doesn't give at bats away this year. 18 strikeouts, but he's walked 14 times, including that one tonight. So for a guy not in the big leagues that long, waiting for his chance at the age of 30, he's been solid. 3-2 with nobody out now.
Top of the strike zone, had to protect.
Yeah.
Off speed.
And he threw him a curveball that was not a strike. 1 out.
What's the last thing Clint Robinson's thinking with a 3-run lead? The Braves having a 3-run lead is going to get anything off speed in a 3-2 count. You're thinking really just going to come right after me and see how far I can hit it. Drop the off speed for strike 3.
Ian Desmond 0 for 3 career against Grilli. And still looking for his first base hit in this series. 0 for 7. And the fastball away, 2-0.
Probably taking a strike in this situation. We'll see.
.93 in there.
Taking all the way.
And that is on the outer half, down around the knees.
Good pitch. 2-1. You're looking for something with a little more plate than that.
Nats have one out to go, trying to make the comeback here. Nats Extra coming your way in a few moments. We would hope there would be another half inning to play. Decker comes out to go on deck after Michael A. Taylor. Taylor with the base hit to left last time. That gave the Nats some hope in that 7th inning. Braves pitchers have made some big pitches tonight. Kept the Nats from some situational success. Taylor pulls it. Uribe has it, and the Braves break a 9-game losing streak against the Nationals, who will still have a chance to win a series here tomorrow night behind Max Scherzer. 4-1 Braves.